Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Podcast Expo Podcast Series. Yeah, I can say that. Fantasy Football Expo Podcast Series. It's not a lot, but it is. Always happy to be here. Really excited about our guest tonight. He is Geoff Doyle of Bettor Vision. He's filling in also for his partner, Brett Lanier, who cannot make it tonight. But I met both of them, the FSGA. We hit it off and we, just shared our ideas about the expo, and boom, they're going to be here. Geoff, welcome to the show. Glad to have you. How's things going? You've told me that the weather's not the weather. The sky's a little gloomy in Chicago this time of year, at least this day.
I saw a report on the Chicago Tribune that said that we have the worst air quality in the world thanks to the wildfires in Canada. So I don't want to directly say that someone's at fault, but where was Digger Turnbull when these
That's right, exactly.
wildfires
Digger,
started?
we blame you.
Same room? I don't know. This is all this where there's smoke, there's fire. I can't use that analogy.
Yeah. You can. Yeah, that's good. It's good. No, thanks again for joining us tonight. As always, as part of our podcast series, we kind of get into the your history of fantasy football. So we're gonna go way back to, and I don't know when that is, so you're gonna tell us when you first found out about fantasy football, when you started playing. How did you get into this obsession that it is for all of us now in fantasy football? When did it all start? Who helped you get there? Who introduced you to it? How did it all come about for you?
I love this question, man. And it's such a fundamental part of who I am. It's so ridiculous to say, but I grew up in a suburb of Boston, and I played kind of every sport because that's what every kid did. Because frankly, that's easier. It's cheaper than a babysitter. Every kid just played every sport. That's what we did. And I did not particularly like soccer, just not my thing. And as soon as I was able to play football and big enough, I started playing that, and I absolutely loved it, and it was fantastic. But it turns out that, as a not overly athletic D1 varsity athlete, blah blah blah, in a D1 school, I was never going to go pro in it. So now my chance to live vicariously through football is through fantasy, and I picked up on it right away. Even before I was tapped out of the playing. My first draft was on AOL. Do you remember that ridiculous noise that it made? Yes. When you signed on. Yeah. So my first draft, the guys like Chris Warren and Eric Moulds and
So what year? Just to ballpark for people, late 90s, right?
Yes, nailed it right then. I was trying to. Chris Warren is the best example of that. He was my RB2 for the years of the Cowboys 1 year. Eddie George is my RB1 that year. Eric Moulds was RB2. T.O. is my RB1. I think Peyton Manning would have been my QB1 that year. But that was how I got into the industry. And honestly, man, just that one first draft was electric. It was me and my friends huddled around one computer in my buddy's living room on AOL with his mom yelling at us to quiet down. It was absolutely electric. And then the cool thing about fantasy is then you go to college and you have the exact same experience with new people, your roommates, and then you go to work, your work colleagues, and you have the exact same experience. And it's so cool how it transcends whatever part of your life it is. And we'll talk about the integration of DFS and sports betting later on, but at a fundamental level, I just love the connection I have to my friends and my leagues and my my past via fantasy football.
So have you always been just a couple leagues kind of person, or as time went on, have you become like myself and just everybody who says, hey, do you want to be in a draft? You just say yes, and it's not even an option. And next thing you know, you're in, a bunch. What's been your max level? And I know you're married, probably have some kids. So, probably you scaled back because of that reason. And I didn't draft as many, obviously, back in my days with my kids. But what's been your max leagues in a year so far?
My max would as far as leagues that I update every week would be 9. But that also doesn't include best ball leagues, which
right. Yeah, no. I'm just saying leagues you have to manage, right?
9. Exactly. 9.
All right, that's pretty respectable. I mean, that's a lot.
That's what I care about. And as with 90% of dudes, how I emote is fantasy football or like any sort of like sports like any sort of like to connect with my friends. I do a really shitty job staying in touch with people, and I know that most people do, but like if I can talk to you about trading Travis Etienne for Devonta Smith, like
right.
over the course of that conversation, I might know what your kids are doing. And without that, like I don't have that. I don't like I'm not capable as a dude to emote that have that higher level of emotional well-being. But fantasy football gives me that. And like I'm very aware of how important it is to my connection to my past. And it's pretty cool.
Gotcha. No, definitely. That's awesome. So let's talk about now we move forward here towards a more recent time. Your fantasy football love and obsession is built and built and built. And all of a sudden now you've got this super cool new product that you and Brett will talk about, meeting Brett, and then talk about how you guys kind of came up with this Bettor Vision. What vision for your Bettor Vision product? Yes. And how that all kind of came into play, and then we'll lead that into what the product's all about and how cool it is.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the question. So like I said, I've just been a fantasy football junkie since day one. But life gets in the way. Call it what it is. I now have 2 kids. I live in Chicago. My wife is also an entrepreneur, so that's just like fancy talk for I have no fucking free time in any capacity. But she still like affords me this guilty pleasure where I can go to the bar for 3 hours. I'm a diehard Patriots fan. Fuck you guys. Comeuppance coming. Don't get me wrong. We're on the downslope here. But
you've had your time. We're fine.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, man. But it's almost like my happy place, my safe place is like when I go to the bar and track all my stuff. And like I talked about how I can't say no to joining a league, and I also can't say no to leaving a league. That's not my style. Right. And over time, like my passion has like negatively impacted my experience because I now have 3 hours a week where I can go to the bar and watch games, and then I got to go home and life goes on. But having the ability to aggregate everything in one place for me, fantasy wise, and like I also do like side DFS contests with my buddies from home, and like not so much like the broader contests. That's not my style, but I have a bunch of independent contests with people that I want to keep track of, and it was hard. Like. Right. Such a like if you're at a bar and Kelsey goes for a long touchdown, that impacts so much of my action that day. Like, right. So much is going on because Kelsey is such a unicorn and Mahomes is such a common commodity, and I'm going against all the blah blah blah. Like, it was negatively impacting my experience to take the time to talk shit to my buddy who I have Kelsey. Also, to combat the terrible message I'm getting from my buddy who has stacked Kelsey and Mahomes, who just scored that long touchdown, but also I have them, and like all this is going on, and it was a negative experience. But at the same time, my degenerate co-founder Brett was having the same negative experience with all his bets. Like he was doing all these things and having no place to track it all in one place, and like there's got to be a better experience for these avid crossover consumers like Brett and I who participate in all these leagues and have all these accounts. Like, put it all together, make it a fun one-stop shop of an experience, and then just watch the game as a fan you are. That's what we're trying to do for our consumers.
Yeah, no, and I've seen, if you go to bettervision.us, am I right?
Correct.
You will see some of the examples of what this app will do. It's going to be amazing. Talk a little bit more about now, where you guys are with it, how you're going to take this to the Expo. And speaking of Expo, you guys are going to be the breakout stage sponsor, which we're very happy about. And we're excited to have you guys there. You'll have your time on the breakout stage to show your product off, but maybe tell some people a little bit about the product. I mean, you kind of just did, but maybe a little more detail of what they're getting with it. Does it cost anything to be a part of it? All that kind of stuff that people will be very interested to know, that I'm sure you'll bring to the Expo as well for people when you're presenting it to them.
Yeah, man, I would love to do that. And actually, before I get into that, we just want to thank you again for giving us the opportunity to talk about, you guys are doing some amazing stuff, and we're just so happy to be a part of what you're building. So
appreciate that.
Thank you again. But what our product does essentially is we aggregate every account that you have across 3 important verticals: sports betting, traditional fantasy, and DFS. And how we found this problem is through our basic Brett and I's pain points. We live and breathe the industry, and it was getting difficult to follow all these things. So we've combined everything in one place. So at this point, we are integrated with 97% of the sports betting market. We have 7 out of the top 10 traditional betting operators, and 2 leading DFS platforms. We have Prize Picks and Underdog already integrated, and we are right now we're just on Apple, but we are so excited to be there. It is a monumental achievement to go through a vigorous Apple process. Yeah, it was a hellscape, but we came out the other side stronger for it, and it's awesome. So we are currently live with, again, we're the only place that combines all these 3 verticals, and our target audience is exactly those consumers, just as us.
Right.
There's nothing that is making life easier for this growing segment of competitive entertainment seekers. I mean, I have to, when I'm at a bar and I just want to experience all my action in one place, I want something that synthesizes all the data. I don't want to know what I'm up on DraftKings, down on FanDuel, up on Caesars, up on MGM, all these different things, because I want the best value at the same time. So I'm price shopping at the same time, combining all these things. And what Brett and I aspire to do is make life easier for these avid crossover consumers, just like us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess biggest question for me, I'm an Android user. When are we going to get our Android?
Love this question. So I think one of the cool things, not cool things, challenging things, let's call it that, not cool at all, about being an entrepreneur is these hard decisions they have to make.
Yeah.
I want to do everything all at once at the same time, but it turns out that costs money. So any listener wants to give us hundreds of millions of dollars, we'll accept that. We're good. But we had to make a terrible decision to just go with Apple because that is the large majority. But what's cool about going through this process is, fundraising is terrible, it's difficult, but when these checks come in, you get these excitement. We're now at a point where we can finally address the Android users, and we are. This timing is so great. We literally earlier this week, which by the way is Tuesday, so yesterday, cut off all production on Apple, and we are now moving over to Flutter with our gifted engineer that we just brought on, who is going to replicate what we're doing, improve what we're doing on Apple for Android at the same time. So awesome. It's going to be ready for football season. How much more for football season?
Maybe not for the Expo, but at least for the start of the season, right?
So to be honest, Bob, we're so happy about being a part of it. Our goal is the Expo. We are gunning full steam ahead. When we get there, we want to talk to those users, your diehard fans, our target audience, about what we're building. And that's the goal, man.
Yeah, no, and if it's ready for the season, that's good enough for me, right? I get it. I know that the Apple's always the first one that you create, and pretty much everybody I've ever talked to on the app side always does Apple first, and for good reason. So that it's all good. I know it'll get there, and you guys you'll get what you need, and be able to provide those Android users with the cool app as well. And I'm looking forward to having that for sure, because. Yeah, between my 30 leagues and my best balls and my underdogs, you might have to have a separate server just for my phone, just to run all my leagues.
Exactly. And I think
that was between 30 leagues and probably, and that's leagues I play in. Then you throw in all the underdogs I'm doing, and oh boy, that's gonna be ugly. So I'll probably be breaking the thing. It'll be having to change everything. Go just call it the Bob Lug edition. Because his Android's killing it.
I think the coolest thing about this process too is Brett and I started this whole research thing with is this a me thing? Am I the only one that has this problem? And it turns out there's 41 million of us out there that just like
that play
live
multiple
and
leagues
breathe
across.
all this environment. And it's like so cool to go through this. And like I'm very aware that I am
No, it's not you or me, it's us. All of us.
And so one of the great parts about the Expo is like just living and breathing and hanging out with like I'm trying to sell, don't get me wrong, I'm trying to sell the product, but like I cannot wait just interact with my people and just talk about what I'm trying to build to make us happier. I mean, like I have a dynasty league on NFL, MFL. I have a a redraft league on real time. We haven't figured out, everything's matchup based storage right now, so my stuff on NFC and FFPC haven't shown up yet, but like everything on Sleeper, that's a dynasty. All this stuff is already showing up on our beta version of the app we're building.
That's fantastic.
Man, so cool.
Yeah, no, that's got to be so exciting. I know how excited I am just for the Expo, and when things come together and Dez announces he's coming, and all that kind of exciting stuff. Like you didn't plan on it, but there it is, and you're like, wow, this is great. So yeah, I mean, it's the same excitement, just at a different level and a lot of different money. Yeah, no, that's super exciting. I'm really excited for you guys to come out. Why don't you just tell everybody where, one, if they're Apple users, again, was it bettervision.us that you can get the app, correct? Can you get it? Just go to the Apple store and get it too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you talked about money, and I apologize. I completely voiced over this earlier. The app is free. Right now there's no charge for consumers. You can link everything together. There's no charge for anyone. And you can go to Better Vision and our very clever plays OR on Bettor. So if you go to Apple,
which is what everybody does. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. Look at me go, right? How very unique. Cool. Go there. And Android users, it'll be available toward the end of the summer. But we are ready to rock for football season. And Apple users, please check it out right now.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned before, this Expo is the perfect scenario for on both sides, right? Users, all us people that are coming that have been there for the last few years, are always excited for this kind of stuff to come there and be presented, because it's so difficult. This. It's so difficult. You can put it out on Twitter and you can tell people, but to have people have that interaction like we are having here, to hear more about it on a one-on-one basis, or, in a room where there'll be 80 or 90 people sitting there watching you guys present, talking with people that are higher up in the industry than we are by far, and getting their love and respect and support for it, because that's huge. I mean, a lot of my growth has come from becoming friends with people like Howard Bender and, those guys on, Sirius XM radio, Geoff Mans, and, and then they invite me to come on to their show and talk about my product, which is, the consistency guide or, the Expo itself. And that all has come from this interaction of the Expo and just getting to know these people. And the great thing is we all help each other. That's what's fantastic, is like, you'll never see these folks like Bender and Geoff Mans and, all the folks in the big world and on Sirius XM. You'll never see them like, oh, well, your product's okay. Like, it's like, oh, hey, you're trying to make it here in the industry. Great. Let me help you here. Let's have you come on the show, or let's talk about it, or, let me share it in one of my podcasts. And that's the great thing about this industry, is we all help each other regardless of what level we are. And we all have that ability to, be that connection to somebody else. And so I'm excited for you guys to come. I think you're going to find that same feeling that I've had. I know we've had kind of a good relationship just from FSGA, and we kind of hit it off with me, you, and Brett. So really happy for you guys to come in and share this amazing new product. I think it's going to crush. And there's times when I look at products and I go, I don't know, maybe we'll see. But this one, I'm like, yeah, this is going to crush.
I can't wait. So thank you for that. And I think I have two reactions to what you just said. Like, number one, and what I'm most excited about is, like you mentioned, Howard, like Brett and I grew up in this industry. I'm a fan. Like, I straight up get panicked when I see like Adam Levitan or Matthew Berry or like people at JJ
Zacharias.
Yeah, man. Like it's pathetic. Right. It is straight up pathetic. I'm a 41-year-old man, and I like get panic attacks when I see these columnists but they've been a part of my life since 2002. It's ridiculous. I've grown up in the industry, so like I cannot wait to interact with these people as a straight up fan. Like, call it what it is. I'm trying to find my wide receiver sleeper. I do not have it yet. I want to talk to these guys about who they like, and at the same time, and to thank you again for those kind words. I have a compelling product that I'm gonna like to talk to them about. Like, you know, one of the things that we haven't talked about, like the implications of tying all these accounts together. Like, hedging is a very common practice when it comes to sports betting on its own. But like people, we know that like 70% of sports bettors also play fantasy. Like, why is there no cross vertical hedging opportunity or arbitrage opportunity? Or like, why is no one assessing everything you do to find out a way to maximize your accounts? Like, that's what we're trying to bring to the platform. I cannot wait to talk to these people about, maybe they'll think I'm smart and like, holy fuck, oh my God, I would like.
I'm pretty sure they'll know you're smart. I think I know you. I know you're smart. That's for sure.
But I will go to my friends who I've grown up with and be like, the guys that you read told me that I had a good idea, and fuck you to high hell. And then they'll beat me in the league, and I'll be so angry about it and can't wait to go back for round 2. And
no, I know that grief. Trust me, I get that grief from my friends all the time. But no, great. Again, Geoff, thanks for coming on. We're really excited about you coming in. Is there anything you want to share? Where to follow on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll take it out from there. And thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for the opportunity, Bob. We are at Bettor Vision on Twitter. We're at Bettor Vision. Again, OR is the only thing. And we are working on our Instagram and TikTok strategy.
I hear you. All right. Well, again, thank you, Geoff, for coming on. So for Geoff Doyle of Bettor Vision, make sure you check that out, bettorvision.us. I am Bob Lung for the Fantasy Football Expo. We will see you August 11th, 12th, and 13th, Canton, Ohio. Remember, tickets go up $10 on July 1st. And don't forget to go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com to get your tickets. Bring your friends, bring your mom, bring your cat. Doesn't matter. Bring them all. It's going to be a great time. You don't want to miss out. Everybody, take care. God bless. We'll see you soon. Hey, everybody. Do you want to continue to learn more about the Fantasy Football Expo? Well, then subscribe to our channel so you don't miss an episode. Expo registration is now open, so make sure you visit thefantasyfootballexpo.com to get your tickets now. And come and experience fantasy football's greatest weekend in Canton, Ohio this August 11th through the 13th.